Well, hello and welcome to our backyard garden here in the South Carolina upstate. This is episode 15. It's May 17th of 2024. Great time of the year. And we're going to get started here with our, actually on our driveway. We're not even into the backyard yet. I show this off every week. These snapdragons are just amazing. They've grown up out of a little crack between the house and the driveway. And they are doing by far the best out of any of the snapdragons that we have anywhere in the yard. They just came up from seed. It's a nice, crazy thing about seeds. You just never know where they're gonna land and where they're gonna grow. And that's what makes them so fun. Now here we have our hillside of irises. They're all done now. I think our last one was still blooming, or just barely blooming last week, but we are now done with irises back here. We have a couple others elsewhere in the yard, and we're going to show those a little bit later. However, having said that, now I've got another plant growing in a crack here on the sidewalk. This is a cleome, beautiful flower. We've got a bunch more of them down here, but that one is growing at the site of a vinca that grew last year right in the same spot. But here are more cleome growing here, here, and then a whole bunch of them here. These have all come back from seeds that came from the flowers we had last year. We had a nice crop of them, but even more this year. I was hoping for that. Looks like we're going to get about twice the number that we had last year. Now this is interesting. This is the one that came up first, and you can kind of start to see the little flower buds in there. So by next week we might have our first cleome blooming, which would be really neat. We have a nice mix of pink and purple through here, so I'm looking forward to that. I had to be very careful. There were a lot of weeds in here along with the cleome, and I was spraying a while back, and I realized right away, fortunately, that a lot of this was cleome and not weeds, so I was very, very careful about that. And then actually over in here where we have the stones, we've got cleome growing here as well. So when I discovered that when I was spraying for weeds. So we're going to have a lot of flowers here before too long, at least a lot of cleome. Coming down the side here, we've got our big hydrangeas. Excuse me. There's still a lot of pollen out here in the spring. We usually get most of that in late March and early April, but we've still got a fair amount of it now. A lot of sneezing going on. This is our yellow knockout rose. It went through a huge cycle of bright yellow flowers about a month ago. Those are all gone, and as I often say, I haven't gotten around to deadheading. If I did, we'd probably be seeing more buds, but having said that, we are seeing some. So we're going to get some more flowers probably in another month or so, maybe even sooner than that. This was all spring stuff, daffodils and so forth. They're all done. We do have a, I'm not even sure what this is, but it's not a weed, I know that much. I can't identify this, we're gonna find out. We did put in some gladiolas here, bulbs, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. They are breaking ground now, so hopefully we'll have some glads a little bit later in the summer. Those are always beautiful flowers. Big oriental lilies here, covered with buds. It probably will not be long, maybe another week or two before we start getting a lot of these in bloom. And this would be really exciting. We have all different colors of lilies. Over here we have our digitalis, exactly one bloom left. Everything else has gone to seed. These have been blooming for about a month. Last year and the year before that, we had blooms continuing kind of cyclically into late summer. It does not look like we're going to get that, but time will tell. We may still get some more shoots coming up, but for right now, this looks like it's about done. But down here, got these little Johnny jump-ups, the little miniature pansies, doing very well. And as I've told this story many times, they're only doing well now since we started spraying them to keep the rabbits away. The rabbits were really kind of destroying those over the winter, right down to the ground, but they've come back and they've given us a lot of nice flowers. Another digitalis here, it's finishing up, and then we have this variation of a viburnum back here. It was supposed to give us some little berries. I think the birds have eaten all of them already. They haven't even gotten to the berry phase. The flowers were just about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and the little seed pods are gone. They must taste really good. Well, I take it back. I see exactly one that's left right there. We'll see if that gets eaten by next week. It probably will. Now, on the front yard video, our butterfly bush, we only have one there, has come out. Now that's it's sort of a pale purplish blue color. This one is a bright purple. These have just come out this week as well. So we probably by next week we'll have a lot more. We have another one of these right through here, and it's also getting or right at the opening stage. I would say these have just probably started up in the last couple of days. Here we have a little miniature knockout rose, doing very well, better than last year. It didn't do so well last year when we had first put it in. It is covered though with clematis leaves, and that has already finished blooming for the time being. We'll see if it does any more. Now these are very interesting. These oriental lilies down here, we just put these bulbs in, or I should say my wife put them in about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and they're already breaking ground. They've come up very quickly, so we should have some more oriental lilies before long. Same thing down here. These have all just come up, so that should give us some more really pretty color shortly. Another miniature knockout rose here, still doing pretty well. They usually don't get more than about 2 or 3 feet tall, so that's about as big as they're going to get, but they give us a lot of flowers, and they continue to give flowers really throughout the year. The largest percentage of them is going to be in the spring, but they'll continue to flower off and on well after that. And back here we have it's kind of referred to as a ground cover rose. It's a yellow rose. It was mostly ground level last year, but this year it's been growing upwards, so I'm not quite sure what to expect of that. Behind all of that, we have a beautiful Giacomini clematis up on the fence. It's actually 2 that have grown together. Wasn't exactly the way I had intended it, but it's worked out well. And then a lilac back here, which bloomed a few weeks back. It's just kind of sitting there now. Allegedly, we're supposed to get some more blooms later in the year, but we'll see if that ends up happening. Daylilies here, so we're going to start getting some of those blooming before too long. Another azalea. What else do we have? These digitalis are finished up, unless they put out some more stalks. Same thing here. This one just has a couple little buds on it, or not buds, but blooms. We have a viburnum back here, which gave us beautiful flowers a few weeks back. Big white snowball looking flowers, but that's done for the year. And then we have our azaleas. We have 6 of them kind of scattered back through the shady part of the yard here. And then astilbe, which have really come into bloom here in the last couple of weeks. They look like firecrackers going off, or not firecrackers, but fireworks. They're great if you have good soil and a lot of shade. These will give you beautiful flowers. They're absolutely worth the money. They're low maintenance, and they do very well. You've got kind of the red color, the darker pink. You've got a real light pink here, and then bright red on these back in here. And these started to bloom a few weeks ago. But they're all doing really well. We're very happy. We've got a few more even down at the end of the path here. All of them in bloom. And even a few more over there that we're hoping will take off in time, along with hostas and our wisteria kind of hiding back there by the fence. Hopefully that'll do a little bit better this year than it did last year. It almost died, but it did come back, fortunately, so very happy about that. Here we have lamb's ear. I always talk about lamb's ear. Generally does not give us flowers, but it's a nice little ground cover plant. Now I did say last week, we have a lamb's ear over here, and it was giving us, strangely enough, this is the first time we've ever run into it, a little, some sort of a bloom. I don't know exactly what to make of it. It's not exactly a traditional flower, but it's some sort of flower, and it's kind of interesting to see for the first time. Now, back here, you see what looks like a bunch of weeds growing in the mulch. These are actually all black-eyed Susans that have come up from seed. We have a lot of black-eyed Susans that we put in down in this area, and they've kind of spread out a little bit, a bigger one right here. And I was talking about Cleome earlier. We got one all the way down here. Not sure how it got all the way down from up by the house, but that's the amazing thing about nature. You just never know. Here is our wisteria. It's all done blooming now. Gave us spectacular purple flowers for a few weeks, ending about 2 weeks ago. And this one is pretty well behaved for the most part. It has not tried to take over anything. It will eventually, because they all do. But the one over on the other side of the fence is a little more difficult to maintain. It's trying to grow everywhere. Now here we have a tea rose, nice pink or coral color, and then the knockout that I always talk about, because it is so varied. When the buds are coming out, they're usually a mix of yellow and red, and by the time they bloom, you're getting more yellow, but some of them will be white and pink. You just see quite a variation, you know, even on the same stalk here. This one's all yellow, this one is all pink, this one's yellow and pink, and then these are pink and white. Got a lot of, back in here, a lot of climbing roses, jasmine, clematis, and that's kind of the ongoing theme as we continue across the rest of the garden. Now here we've got some daisies that have just started to come out. I believe these are Shasta daisies. If you look in the dictionary under flower, this is typically what's going to come up. Daisies are like the most basic flower there is. And back in here you can see the jasmine a little bit closer, and then over here, really cool mix of these oriental lilies, which have started to open up. You can see these is very, very dark red, almost a black looking flower. And we have many more buds to go. So those are going to continue to come out. And then all these knockout rose blooms. Interesting story on these, if you haven't heard seen these videos before. This was our biggest knockout rose as of last year. It was about 7-8 feet tall, and deer came into the neighborhood during the winter. It was a hard winter, and they were looking for anything they could find. And they ate about half of this bush down to the bottom. So all of this area out here is new growth this year, and it has been more prolific in terms of producing flowers. It's also been a little bit delayed. So while a lot of the other roses are done, these are just getting into bloom now. So they're kind of taking the place of some of the other roses, but you know, you see ones down almost at the ground level, ones that are several feet up. They're all part of the same plant. It's really fun. Here, I have more jasmine. You can see the jasmine close up. These little white flowers with 5 petals. Very pleasant smell. It makes you think of the South in the summer. And they're everywhere. It's a very aggressive vine, so you do have to cut them back, and we will once they stop blooming. Some more coreopsis here. We had a lot of those in the front yard. These are just about done, although we may get some more coming back if we deadhead them. Another daisy here that'll come out a little bit later. This climbing rose was just covered with probably a few hundred easily, maybe even 1,000 of these little pink blooms. Just a couple weeks ago, they were up all across the top of our trellis there. They're kind of in a pause phase right now, kind of catching their breath, and then they're going to start putting out more flowers as the summer progresses. They usually, if last year is any indication, they will bloom off and on, probably well into November. Again, on this side we have a lot of jasmine. It's just like a wall of jasmine here, and then a few clematis scattered about. Most of the clematis have finished up, but we still have a few in bloom, like these Nellie Mosers over here, these pale lavender ones. And then down here we have, in our little terraced part of the yard, we have a mix of just native orange daylilies, which will be blooming probably in another month or so, and then black-eyed Susans, which come out late in the summer. So we're really able to get color throughout the whole summer. That's one of the nice things about mixing it up like we try to do. You really get color throughout the year, and we do here. We start seeing our first daffodils blooming in late January, and the last flowers are finishing up right around Thanksgiving, depending on when the frosts come. But you know, you got a good 9 months of growing season here, and it's really fun because we came from the north. In Ohio, you get about a 5 or 6 month growing season, and usually by the time the end of September comes, most things are finishing up. Here we have the only remaining Siberian irises, so enjoy these because they will be gone next week. There were a lot of those yellow blooms on this plant, but they're all gone now. More jasmine and clematis over this way, and we're going to come back over to this side in a minute. Here, climbing roses. Again, having taken the pause for the time being, they're not doing a whole lot right now. We need to deadhead them, but even having not done that yet, we're getting some buds, so we'll get more flowers coming off of these before too long. We've got Veronica down here. Quite a few Veronica back in this area, and then up closer to the house as well. These beautiful stalks of purple. Got some more sedum over here. This is something we don't have an answer to as to what it is exactly, but it's doing very well. I kind of suspect it might be a variation of phlox, but I'm not sure. We've got some little zinnias that my wife put in a few weeks back. They're kind of struggling a little bit, but they are giving us some flowers, which is nice. More dianthus here, and we put some bulbs in this area. Time will tell what comes up. Kind of a mix of glads and oriental lilies, and then right up front here we've got some calla lilies. These are the first of about 8 different groups of calla lilies. Actually, here's another one. Actually, 2 more. I missed them all together right here and right here. So we have 4 down in this area, and then we have another 4 up by the house. All different colors. They should start to bloom fairly soon. Nice tea rose here. Even better tea rose back there with that sort of coral orange color. And then some pink ones back behind there. Those were fully in bloom a few weeks back, and they're coming back now a little bit. And behind that, then, there's the usual mix of jasmine and clematis. And another butterfly bush over here. It's getting some buds on it, not ready to quite open yet. It'll be another couple weeks, but this usually gives us the bright purple, similar to the one that we saw earlier over on the other side of the yard. Here we have this is what we always call kind of our dead zone. We're trying to work through that. We've put a lot of things in here that have not done well, but this wisteria is doing pretty well now. It didn't do so well last year, but it has come back, and we're hoping it'll really take off along the fence there. We have this ice plant. I don't really have a name for it. I know there is a name and I just can't remember what it is, but we put this in a few years back, and it's actually come back a little bit better this year than last year. It'll give us some yellow flowers before too long. We have some dahlias here. I'm really surprised that these have come back. Usually we've had to take the bulbs out to get them to do well, and we didn't do that this year, and here they are, still blooming. Clematis up against the yard. I'm sorry, up against the fence. Light or pale lavender there, and then a nice magenta color here, and some more growing back in this area. So what we're trying to do over time is get this fence covered between the wisteria and the clematis. Just kind of a traditional old garden look. We put in a bunch of glad bulbs earlier this spring. They're coming up. Hopefully we'll get some nice flowers out of those. These are older ones that have been around for a while. They usually don't put up much in the way of flowers after about 3 or 4 years. More clematis. A lot of weeds over in this part. This is kind of the forgotten part of our yard for the most part, behind the trampoline. But despite that, there's still things to be seen. Again, we've got our one big wisteria here. It will need to be cut back soon because it's done blooming now, so there's really no point in waiting. Got our weeping cherry here, and actually, having talked about wisteria, for the most part it is done. However, I'm looking here and there is just one left that is blooming. It's kind of nice to see, and I always like showing off our neighbor's yard when I can. They've got some beautiful yellow tea roses here that always bloom right around now. I've kind of finished up. They have some more buds, but they'll those will be coming out soon, and it's kind of a nice say contrast with the purple of the Giacomini clematis on the fence. And then as we come around this area, there's another kind of lost area. These are canna. We have two different types, the ones with the red leaves and the ones with the green leaves. They were put into the worst area of soil that we had anywhere in the yard, and that was partly by design, because if they're in good soil, they will take over your yard in no time. And once they're so aggressive that they will push out anything else that's in the area. Unfortunately, they're not that impressive as flowers go, because last year we only got a relatively small number for the amount of, or for the number of plants that we have here. And these were given to us, but it's almost an entire field of canna here. We really had I'd say maybe a couple dozen flowers. It wasn't really worth the effort, and that's one of the reasons that we don't really put a whole lot of effort into it. We have some irises down here that were giving us blooms earlier in the year. The strange thing about these canna, I see them other places, and they are usually nearby, I should say, like in our neighborhood, and they're doing well. The ones we have, I think, have some sort of parasite. I'm not an expert on that. They have a hard time opening up, and I think that's part of the reason we don't get a lot of flowers. But it's not an area that we can see from the house, so it's fairly low priority. And over here, we're back to daylilies, orange daylilies, and black-eyed Susans. We've got black-eyed Susans growing down here in the stones, and then we'll work our way back up to the house and finish up. And we have a number of things to show in this bed at the base of our deck. So we'll start over here with the Veronica, just like the ones we saw down in the lower part of the yard. All these stalks of purple, absolutely beautiful. All of these roses, and we have several of them, these all bloomed in large numbers earlier in the spring, but they finished up. But now enough time has passed, we're starting to get some more buds, and we're going to get some more color before too long. We put in some gladiolas here a few weeks back. They're already breaking ground. A lot of strawberries back in there that we put in. We're just kind of seeing what they'll do. We're not big strawberry farmers, but they're always kind of interesting. Got some phlox, which aren't blooming right now. Another group of veronica, more daylilies, roses, and then as we come up here, we've got our first calla lilies that are in bloom. Absolutely gorgeous flowers. They kind of make you think of peace lilies and things like that. They are very, very pretty. We've got several different types. We had 4 down in the lower part of the yard. I believe I have 4 more up here. Got 1 growing there, 1 growing over here. Supposedly all different colors. So really looking forward to seeing how those progress. We have our biggest lilac here, which for some reason did not bloom this year, but it had a lot of clematis growing up on top of it, and that gave us some color. Another lilac back here, which did bloom. Our giant hosta, daylilies, roses, all kinds of things as we come through here. And then we get to these oriental lilies, which have just opened up in the last couple of days. And they're looking beautiful. Got a lot more buds, so we should get a lot more color before long. Got some different ones over here and over here as well. So we're looking forward to a lot of color up soon. Here is another calla lily. This is I think number 9. Bright orange color has just opened up, and I'm hoping we get more than just that one, but I don't know. Not sure what to expect with those. They're still kind of new to us. We just got a bunch of those last year. Then behind all that, we have our blueberries, which very quickly have started to ripen. Now, at the moment, we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 berries. I'm thinking, unless my count is off, that we may, birds may have eaten one. We've got one that's just about ready to eat. The others are getting there. So that's it's about the only thing that's worthwhile with those plants. They've been kind of disappointing overall, but when you do get the berries, it's kind of fun. More coreopsis here. These are doing really well. Gives us this nice sort of mustard yellow color that we don't get on anything else up in this area. And then the gigantic climbing rose with the pink blooms. It was absolutely covered a few weeks ago. It's kind of in its transition phase right now. It'll start to put out more buds before long, and say before you'll know it, it'll be covered with pink blooms again. So that brings us back to the top. We're back up here. We've got another big hosta. We're going to have some tomatoes. I haven't talked about tomatoes too much. They are not really doing anything yet, but they will. We have hundreds of tomato plants that grow from seed because there are more tomato fruit than we can eat. So we'll see when those start to come up, and that will kind of fill in some of the bare spots in this part of the garden. And last year they continued all the way back here. We still have some of the stalks from those we just never got rid of. But anyway, our cleome. This is the garden for the week, and so wherever you are, I hope it's sunny, and until next time, happy gardening.